Well, welcome back to the podcast. I have with me today my friend, Dr. Verg. We call him Tony. Honored to have you with us today.
That's a pleasure.
Yeah. Today we want to just really talk about what it means to go deeper with God. I wanted to hear what your journey has been with going deeper.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think about what does it mean to go deeper? How does that look like?
Yeah.
Do you know some people who are, quote unquote, deeper? And then maybe we will see some steps to go there. And so I don't know. I'm thinking, how about, have you answered those questions for yourself?
I don't even know what it looks like to go deeper with God at this point.
Yeah, okay.
Because I feel like I hit a threshold where I know what it looks like to experience God, to know God, and then I don't even know what beyond that would even be.
Yeah. I'm thinking, as you're talking about, I'm thinking of, let's say, how we understand relationships, in particular, the difference between how women connect with each other versus men. And, the stereotype is, right, that women like to talk about their feelings or talking and sharing connects them versus men is doing things together. That's the stereotype. And I'm like, I'm actually an opposite way. I connect with people when I talk with them and when I hear about specifically their dreams and goals and how there's a little spark in their eyes when you say, that would be really cool, or I'm doing something that I was thinking about, dreaming about, and it's changing the world myself or whatever. And so I'm like that, and I'm like, maybe this is the same way to God. That's good, actually. Yeah. One way we connect with Him is by hearing from Him, telling Him something, sharing our heart, and having that conversation that is a story conversation. It continues. It's not just a random events with God, but we don't know how they connect to our life or what's the next thing. And the second way is doing things with Him to come to know Him.
Mm-hmm. What's something that you do with Him?
Yeah,
to come to know Him.
I think, what is something I will do to come to know Him? For me, it was to applying my faith to my profession, but really who I am. So I had this not faith crisis, but identity crisis 2 years ago, where I was driving to work and I felt stuck in my work. I felt like I don't know what to do to grow my business. I don't know what's the next thing. I enjoy it when I'm there, but I dread it before I come. And so I'm.
Oh yeah, I know how it feels.
Yeah. And so
just a little bit, but yeah.
And so it's kind of like this specific depression that hits you. Mm-hmm. You're not depressed in life, but when you're doing something, it's just this weight.
You dread all the appointments.
You dread. You're like, okay, I don't know what's wrong with me. And so I would, at first, when we're in that state, we don't know why we're there. It's kind of like you're in the fog. And I describe it, imagine somebody in the valley, and there's a fog there. And you were before the valley, there's ridges all around, mountain ridges, and you're walking and you're hiking and you're going to an incredible place that was told exists, and then you slip and you just tumble down into the valley, and then you recollect yourself, check your bruises, and you look and there's fog all over, and you kind of see where you fell from. You're like, but I don't know how to get back. I don't know what I did wrong to get here, but I'm here, and so that was for me, and what really helped me at that time is listening to Jamie Winship. Mm-hmm. That was I just have to give a shout out to that. Mm-hmm. You know him, right? Have you heard of him?
The name's very familiar.
Yeah.
I have not listened to him much.
Yeah, I think he's one of the most inspirational speakers I've ever heard thus far, because he made that impact at the time, and in particularly because he applies his faith to different aspects of
Gotcha.
of what he does. So he, was a missionary. Then he was working for the CIA. He was a cop, and
Oh yeah, I think I have listened to him.
yeah, and then now they're doing some screenwriting and animation and
Yeah.
and like a whole bunch of stuff. And opening a coffee shop, I'm like, okay,
Oh wow.
and he's like, I know nothing about coffee shops. For me, but what was he saying? He was talking about that in our identities of who God made us to be as children of God, there's a specific uniqueness that comes out.
Yeah.
There's a unique expression
Yeah.
of who we are, and that and if when we recognize that, we start moving in that direction, and we feel like we come alive again. And I'm like,
Yeah, so true.
and I'm like, I was listening to him saying, all right, I am, a child of God, but what kind of a child of God am I? And then I'm like, well, I'm a healer. I realized, I'm like, all right, so it makes sense.
Like as a doctor, right?
Yeah, but doctor and healer is a little bit different, because doctor is a profession that I do, versus a healer is who I am. It's more of an identity statement, and this identity statement
Wow.
kind of connected this in the following, like before,
Oh yeah.
if I'm fixing somebody's back or neck or their headaches, it feels great. It feels amazing, especially the results. But I didn't feel that I am living out my purpose.
Yeah.
I didn't, because
yeah.
I have a family at home that I want to spend time with, because there are people on the streets who don't know Jesus, because there's ministry aspects. So
Right.
there's those three aspects: family,
Right.
work, and ministry, and they were kind of like scattered and not connected. And this thought alone united this. When I was at work and I was fixing somebody's back, I felt like I'm living out my purpose and identity, even if I don't pray for them or prophesy to them. Before, I was like, all right, I can fix backs now. Let me bring some spiritual important things into that. But I did not feel that
Yeah.
when I fixed their back, I'm actually living out my purpose. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
I can and I do pray for my patients and
Yeah.
ask them where they are with God. But when I treat them, I'm like, all right, I'm living out my purpose.
Yeah.
I'm not taking away time from ministry to do work, and then when I'm at work, I'm thinking about how I'm taking time away from family, and when I'm with family, I'm thinking about how my work is not growing, and I don't know what to do next. But it becomes more of a united thing. Like I'm a healer there.
Wow.
And so that led me on a journey of asking other questions. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, now that I know that I am a healer, what do I like to heal? What is something? What is the biggest thing that I do that brings value to people around me? And I specifically realized, like, one of the reasons why I felt this dread and this feeling like I'm stuck is because I was doing a lot of things in my work, but not enough of focus on the things that I really would love to do, where I really felt I was helping people the most. And that was in acute, really sharp low back pain and disc
Yeah.
problems and those kind of things. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Well, I see a whole bunch of patients. Not a lot of them are. Some of them are of this kind. I'm like, wouldn't it be wonderful if you can get paid well and help those kind of people? That was the next question in my mind. I'm like, yeah, that would be actually much more incredible. And I'm like, all right, where are those people? I'm like, well, they are in a neurosurgeon's office. They've tried everything. They are the people who are kind of giving up that there is a solution. All right, well, do you know any neurosurgeons? I'm like, yeah, I do. I'm like, all right, so give them a call. Tell them what you do. No, I could never do that. I will never do that because they are the cream of the crop,
Yeah,
12
yeah.
years of school and
Crazy,
whatever, and they're just too smart to actually listen to me, and here my insecurities, surfaced, and I was like, well, why do you believe that? And I'm like, well, I don't think I can
This was like
explain.
your conversation with the Lord.
This is what my conversation with myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure God was part of it.
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but and I'm like, all right. So then I started. I'm writing out a speech to call this neurosurgeon, ask for referrals,
Mm-hmm.
to say, hey, and then I didn't have, and then as I'm writing it, I look at it, and then I'm like, why does it look like I'm trying to prove something to him? And I'm like, and I remember Jamie's words is like, if you are in self-protection, self-promotion, then you are acting out of fear. Anybody who's in self-protection, self-promotion is acting out of fear. Now, I don't necessarily, I think, I always try to apply this now. I don't think it might be always true and there's nuances, but it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And then I'm like, all right, why does it feel like then I'm afraid? I have to prove. Why don't you tell it like a story? And I'm like, all right, I'm not trying to prove. I'm actually trying to find out if what I've discovered and the way I was helping people can help these people that haven't tried it, that are in his office.
Make sure you talk really close to the mic too.
Yeah, that are in his
Or just bring
office.
it closer, yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that moment, I picked up the phone. I had the phone, and I just click call to this neurosurgeon, and he picks up, and we have this conversation. And for me, it started from realizing who I am. It started from thinking about, because this is who I am, what does it mean that I need to do? Right, and that connection, I think they're so connected. There is that tree of faith that produces fruits of righteousness and peace and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Amazing things. There is the tree of who we are that produces results of what we do, and there should be, one should lead to another. If all we have is amazing thoughts, and we believe that we are children of God, or that we're meant to bring, we're the peacemakers of the earth, or whatever.
Right.
But if we're not, if it's not bringing to any kind of actionable steps, we will feel like
No purpose, right?
Yeah, no purpose, in the fog, in the desert. The way you describe it, it doesn't matter. I do think there's might be seasons of that, but I think that those ones will lead us to from realization of who we are. What gifts do I bring to the world, and when to the world, and then a step to put them into practice.
That's good.
Yeah.
That was so packed with good stuff. Good stuff. There's so many questions. I thought it was very interesting how you brought up how basically in the church we often compartmentalize work and something that's in the church, connected to church Christian life, and then we say like our business is not a part of our purpose or calling of God. But when you found purpose in your work from the Lord, you found like more grace from the Lord to enjoy what you were doing, to bring God into it. And it was identity. Yeah. So you found I purpose through identity, and that gave you joy in what you did from the Lord. I'm assuming that it helped from the Lord to go into your work with joy, with more purpose. So you started finding in your work that you didn't have purpose, and then the Lord connected the dots where it's not outside of Christianity, right?
Yeah, but though outside of my understanding who I am in Him, who He made me to be, those kind of questions. But it wasn't that I didn't feel the connection. I just didn't have growth in my business. That's it. It just didn't grow, and I'm like, and you feel stuck, and feeling stuck leads you to dig at the foundations, to actually see what am I standing on, what am I believing, and I'm like, the things we believe
Wow.
They need to bring out incredible results. Like true
Yeah.
faith, it needs to flip mountains. Now, if my faith is not flipping mountains, it's all right. It's okay to see and dig at the foundation and like, what is wrong with my foundation? Something's up with it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm not going to beat myself up for it, but it's a good signal that I'm not going to ignore that something is wrong. It's not translating into transformed life. I mean, how much time did it take the disciples to have a transformed life? Not too long. I mean, yeah, Jesus changed the world in 3 years. When I
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
I was like, yeah, some stuff do take time. The older I get, the more I realize that some stuff do take time. But if it's not producing result, you have to ask God the question: is it something that I'm believing about myself, God, or the surroundings that is wrong? That needs to be reapplied.
So, sorry, it turned out to be an identity, like some lies you're believing that were limiting you in you providing value for people where you wanted to provide value.
I just never applied my identity to my work. I just never applied it.
So you knew your identity in a certain area of your
Yeah,
life.
yeah. I'm like, okay, I'm a child of God. He loves me, and I
this is
can,
at
and I
church,
can,
basically.
at church,
Family.
at home, when I'm on my personal time with God, and at work, the way I thought I needed to do it, right, is like, all right, how do I bring my patients who want more of Jesus to God or to church or something like that, like because I know they're not coming to me for me to pray for them and prophesy to them, like they're not coming for me for that, and I don't want to do that if that's not something in their heart. But some people are looking for more in their life. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
who are those people out of my patients, and how do I find them? How do I make that connection and give them something more than they're looking for? Because we're much greater than just our bodies, right? We have the spirit and the soul that also yearns for something. And so my thought was, if I find those people and then I pray, prophesy, invite them to church, then I'm living out my purpose in my work. But if I'm not doing that, I am not living out my purpose in my work. And so I feel like I'm just doing this thing in order to have money to do the other stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound like God. It doesn't sound like the kingdom. Or that I will only fix you back if you pay me, or I will only fix your back if you want a little bit more of God and I can prophesy to you. Like, you know, like it's just, is that what I was supposed to be doing? So I'm still asking myself certain questions, but then from that, I realized that I was made to be a healer. Now that is evolving right now, is changing in my thought of the core of who I was made to be, because there are specific identities, specific descriptions of who God made each one of us to be that will give us more direction, I feel like. And that's what I felt like I got.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like people can get.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, yeah, because I feel God describes me as like a worshiper. Now, there's been times where that's been shaken through like, oh, well, you can't really just decide to be a full-time worshiper. But through the direction of work I choose, because right now I'm teaching music and I'm doing full-time, I started full-time releasing worship on YouTube, and, you know, I'm seeking to like travel and minister. I believe there's a call on my life for that. So with really believing that it's not just a one way it can look, because I see the purpose in teaching students is that I'm actually raising up more worshipers through doing that. Through teaching music, through teaching worship, I'm actually raising up the next generation. And when you sow it into somebody, or sow in through your words or just through conversation like we're having, you're actually sowing into the next generation and you're receiving.
Yeah. One thing is, as you said about, you want to, the way you see that this can happen is by traveling, maybe
Yeah.
traveling, worshiping at other places.
Yeah.
I'm like, but you already found the one unique way to express your identity, and it's by teaching others. And I'm like, what if there's so many unique ways to do that?
Exactly.
And we don't see that, and therefore we feel stuck.
Yeah.
Like we shouldn't, because people want to become. We have a thing that we're looking for. We see other people did it, and their stories are compelling.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I became a full-time minister. I just went on faith. I became a worshiper.
But we also judge them according to what we see at the end. Like we judge Jesus' life based on the 3 years and not the 30 he was working. But
Yeah.
he was working for 30 years, not being seen by anyone.
This brings me to an
you know.
example, life example that we were just at a conference, Bethel conference, and the teacher was Andrew Womack,
Yeah.
and I was there with
Legend.
he's a legend. I was like, I want to see him live, just so I can say that I did, because he had such an impact in us when we were first going into the path of faith. But we were with a friend, with our friend there. And this friend shared this story, and he would be totally okay with me sharing it here. But Andrew Womack was talking about if you can't see it in your mind or your heart, you can't see it in reality. And he was just talking about that principle. Like
So
you have to see it in your heart. Can you see? Can you see yourself getting killed? Can you see yourself raising the dead? Can you see yourself prophesying or encouraging people or starting a business or whatever?
Right.
Can you see yourself? Or in business, it's that dreaded phone call or maybe some sales call. Can you see yourself calling and chatting with that person? Can you go through
working?
That? Yeah. And it working. Like actually them having can you see them having a positive reaction to your call?
It can be tough.
And so he was talking about that. It was really great. It helped me from the place, kind of taking the next step, even in my work, in my growing my business and stuff like that. But then we sat down at this pizza place, and he's like, I've tried everything he's talking about. I knew I was called to be a pastor. And I took my family and moved to Reading, like this whole thing, and I pursued it, and I believed it, and I took steps of faith, but it didn't work out. Like I'm running my own business for 2 years, and now I'm starting a different career path. And he's like, it didn't work out, and it made me think, like maybe some things in our life, some paths, are a byproduct of something versus something we can pursue directly. For example, joy. Like when somebody says I'm not joyful, I'm not like, all right, how do we squeeze joy out of you? Let's do it and force it out. No, we're like, what brings joy? What are the mechanisms and machinery of that we can build? The byproduct, the little gifts coming out is joy.
Yeah.
And so I think maybe certain pursuits in our life, like, you can pursue to be a chiropractor, you can pursue to be a doctor, you can pursue to be even a builder, but even in certain, but when it comes to things like friendships, pursuing friends, building a family, finding the spouse, I think ministry falls into that category, at least in my mind. You cannot pursue it directly, otherwise you'll be disappointed. It needs to flow out of some other stuff we're doing. And now you have this unique way that you're expressing who you are. It's teaching people. But what if there's more? What if the things that we want to do, the way that people did it, is not the way that we will do it?
Right.
This brings me to another example of all of the self-help books and business books.
Right.
They sound great. They have a lot of principle. Oh yeah, you just wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning every time, But the thing is, the sheer volume of all that written, the amount of people they truly help is meager. It's very small.
Right.
And because in business you have to be at the right place at the right time and have the right tools.
And connections.
There needs to be like three of quote unquote random things that happen together or whatever for you to go forward. Another example is my brother-in-law works for a company, and the owner, he did wholesaling, property wholesaling.
Yeah.
And then he opened up a class to teach other people. What he tells him personally, he says, this is not the time. You cannot make the money anymore that I made in 2011, 12. It's just impossible. Mm-hmm. Right now we have to move on to new things to actually make the money. The time has passed, and people are running. I'm not saying that people shouldn't go into wholesaling, but according to him, there was a moment, a place, and time to be, and that place, propelled him to incredible prosperity.
Yeah.
I think the Lord wants to do that in our life, but I think like some stuff we can't, like, okay, I decided that I'm going to be a worshiper, and I decided that it's going to be through itinerant ministry. I decided that, right? And that you're not going to be like, and when you're going to be disappointed, and then you're going to doubt everything. I don't know. It's going to be hard.
Right. No, I'm not limiting how it looks.
Yeah.
There's one desire. Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah. I see a lot of purpose there, but I've already, stepped into it at a certain level. There's just higher levels of it. And I see it being like not a full-time part of my life, but like a bonus part. Bonus part.
And I love it.
Yeah. And so much purpose there. I mean, that's the one thing the Lord's spoken to me a lot about. And it has to do with church and impacting the church and bringing revival to the church. But what does this kind of calling look like outside of church? Because isn't our calling always not just for church? I mean, I kind of think about how a lot of people that are called to ministry, are they called to impact the world or called to impact church?
That's a good question. I'm thinking about if a speaker can go and make an impact at their job, right, in their workplace or in an environment that's hostile, I want to listen to them, because now when we're in a pleasant environment, I'm like, okay, they know what they're talking about. They can break through some walls. If you're a worshiper and you know how to engage people and get them to think about something other than themselves as you're out there, I don't know, poetry slams or any other events, and all of a sudden people are like, oh, I'm thinking of higher things in my life. I'm like, I would want to come to your worship sets, bro.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's
At least
dynamic.
this is the way I see.
Yeah.
I'm like, does it work everywhere else, or does it only work in certain conditions?
Yeah.
What I'm
certain
doing.
Environments or atmospheres. Yeah. But then I think, is there people that are just called to impact the church? We see like those men of God, like, all right, Bill Johnson, for example, since you're just there.
Yeah.
I would say most of his impact, I could be wrong, but I would say he's mostly impacting the church, bringing reformation to the church, and the church is bringing impact through like.
But you put him in a different environment, like in a business environment, CEOs, whatever, and he thrives anyway. Of course, he has stories like that where there's those conversations with governors or whatever. And so I'm like, hands down, he knows what he's talking about, right? That's my little gauge.
Yeah. That's good.
And I'm like, if what I'm doing is not working elsewhere, then I think, because language and understanding is a difficult thing. We have things, we brought concepts, we put a religious term to it, because it really encapsulates a very big thing, right? It kind of compresses it. We compress the file into a small word like the heart or presence or deeper, like
going deeper with God.
Going deeper. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? And then we compress it, and we can utilize it only in people who understand those terms, but we never went back and and thought,
Yeah.
what is that?
But we
mean?
are talking about an aspect of
Well,
going
it's-
deeper right now
Exactly.
with bringing our work purpose from the Lord.
Yeah.
And bringing the Lord, not keeping what we have in the four walls of the church, but bringing it to the business or wherever God's put us. It doesn't even matter where we are. You could have been another
Profession.
100%,
100%.
and the Lord could have given you purpose in that.
100%.
Like, it almost doesn't matter what you were. The Lord can still give you purpose.
See, but
And
you know what I couldn't do?
yeah, what's that?
Be,
I don't know.
be a construction.
Oh, me neither.
So,
That's what I know.
but I knew that. Like,
Oh yeah, I wish I
was
knew sooner.
aware.
I was striving. Yeah, well, because we go to a Slavic church. I'm not Slavic, but it's the only profession that
You can't say that.
I can't?
You can't say you're going to a Slavic church.
I'm not.
I
I feel like I am. No, yeah, but it kind of. Everybody does construction. If you're a young guy, but I'm just
from
like
that perspective, from a
I don't think
perspective
that
of
that's
everybody.
like my calling. I'm just not a builder. It doesn't. I just don't thrive with it, and I don't think I ever would. And I don't think I would find the purpose. I mean, I would love it, but not for work. Like, I would love to remodel my own house or like
Yeah.
flip a house.
Me too. I really want to be able to do that, but I haven't got there yet. It's a good thought.
But I just know that when you know not what to do,
Yeah.
you'll know more what to do, I think. I know not to do construction, so I know, okay, if I have the choice between this music school, which for the time being is paying me less than if I worked and was striving in construction, but I know that because I love doing it and I have purpose in it, I see purpose in it, and I'm providing value out of the overflow of my gift,
Yeah.
then I know it's going to be blessed. I know for a fact that it's going to be majorly blessed, way more blessed than if I did construction.
Because here you can ask the next question. Not how can I make more money? How can I squeeze people for more money of what I do?
Yeah.
But how can I bring more value
Exactly.
and get paid better for it? Right? And so you're like, huh? And then, we go into other avenues of music teaching, which goes into classes, into recorded things, into propagating that. And so, but I think there's even more unique ways.
Yeah.
I think our greatest fault, what ChatGPT and AI has made me realize about us, is how stupidly uncreative we have become, that this machine can take over and be better than me. Well, because I lost my creativity.
But our brain is...
The difference between, and I do want to just kind of like go there for a second of AI.
That's good. That's a good topic.
It's like the...
Should I put that in the title?
Yeah. AI God. What? You said AI was God? No,
AI God.
no.
That's good clickbait. No.
That's right. No, you can't, because AI by algorithm is the complex language models are they need a lot of input to bring an output. They are by definition are not able to be creative. For creativity to happen, now creativity is a very vast word. I'm not talking about art or music. What I'm talking about is what Einstein did when he discovered the theory of relativity.
Yeah.
What did he do? He forgot all of the previous explanations for energy or transfer of energy.
So everything ChatGPT could have told him.
Yeah. He had to forget that and say, okay, there are
all
points.
The facts
there's points of data. There's a lot of data, and whatever people explanation, they had something they called the ether, and so at the end, whatever it doesn't match. Some points are out that they're not connecting yet. The description. So he had to forget it, and he had to come up with a new theory. And he came up with the theory of relativity and different ways that energy is transformed to mass and all, and then it connects it all. That takes creativity. It takes forgetting your previous inputs and coming up with something completely new.
Wow. Well, that's a cool statement.
Yeah.
Forgetting everything
Yeah.
and looking for something new.
Yeah.
Sounds like going deeper with God.
Sounds like the Bible. I
Wait
think
a
we're
minute.
onto something.
Wait.
I forget the past, and Paul. He's
Yeah.
like, I forget what was before to.
Yeah.
There's a
To look
verse.
for the
There's a
things
verse.
ahead.
There's a verse.
I know.
Yeah.
There's a verse.
Yep.
Forget those things that are behind.
I just
Looking forward to
remember
those
it in
that are ahead.
Russian. Простираясь вперед.
Yeah, but I don't know it in Russian.
Yeah.
for sure,
Anyways,
yeah.
that's good.
Yeah.
But coming back to our going deeper with God, like
Which we've been talking about
the whole time
in a different level.
Yeah. What does that mean? What does that mean for you?
For me?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, okay, my desires, because I feel like every area of my life, as I go deeper in experience with the Lord.
Okay, so for you, it's experience. One of the biggest.
So.
Okay.
I think so. So, like encounter.
Okay.
I feel like people have yes, they're crazy, but they're very, like, not that crazy encounters with God.
Uh-huh.
For example, like somebody will have a vision. They'll see. I mean, I had a vision when I was younger, like 18, of the Lord's hands. It was very impactful at that point, right?
Yeah.
But I realized, okay, I saw that one time, probably most vivid vision. So random. I didn't have any history with Jesus, of experiences with him.
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, since I knew nothing of experiencing God, at that point, that was a very impactful.
Yeah.
Now it's like, in my mind, what more is there? Like, I haven't experienced much visions like that vivid, like in the mind, like crazy.
Well, people will say just take some
Yeah, but not
psychedelics.
with drugs.
No. Okay. just.
Yeah. But like, what more experience? Because that experience alone helped me to have more faith, just like that, like in every area of my life, to feel more. Because what I got from that vision was just God's protection. I'm in His hands.
Mm-hmm.
I've had that ever since. Like, I'm in His hands. No matter if I, stumble and fall, if I run away, He's still like protecting me, holding me, right? And He's been faithful to it. So it's a historical landmark of experience, which is beautiful. But I'm like, I want to have more of those so I can go deeper in every.
But what do you think about? There are people who are having a lot of experiences, right?
Uh-huh.
They seem to have a gauge a little bit, increased on the experience front, and so. But we look at their life. I mean,
right?
We look at their life and we're like, they still look. They're incredible. They still seem stuck, or feels like they're stuck.
Or they'll even say they are.
Or exactly. That's probably where I was.
Not to like,
going.
because we don't want to be like judging people.
Yeah, and I'm like,
but
what else? What else could be? Like, is there a component that we're not seeing? Maybe, because whenever I think about spiritual life, I think about the body, because I know a lot about
physical
body, and I'm like, there's never one thing. There's a components of things, and the biggest thing that's lacking, if we add it in, it makes a huge difference, but only to a degree. Mm-hmm. We can't keep on adding zinc and like you have problems with your immune system. Let's take a bunch of zinc. Yeah. Awesome, but to a certain degree, and then it doesn't make an effect, and then later it will be detrimental. I don't know if this example applies in all regards, but I've seen it where
too much of one thing.
Where
yeah.
You're lacking something else.
Yeah.
Other aspect of you.
That's actually so good. So I could, like, let's say all I got was visions of the Lord every day. But I was never like in the Word. I never journaled.
No.
I never like
connected with believers.
Yeah. I would not be healthy at all.
Oh no.
I would like have these supernatural encounters with Jesus I could talk about. But would I look like him? No.
But I think I'm on a hunch of what is missing in a lot of us. It's a hunch, and it is the basic human things, not the spiritual things. Oh. Like saying hello, Hi.
Hello.
Like looking people in the eyes,
Yeah.
like being off our phone,
noticed that
like
too, yeah.
having interests, being interested in things,
Being
and
okay with being unique. Yeah.
what else I think is lacking? Just a little bit of consistency. Um, uh, maybe. Well, I was gonna say honesty. I don't think people are still very
Yeah.
honest. I don't know. That's okay. Not having friends,
Yeah.
not knowing how to build
Do you think-
friendship
yeah.
is not a spiritual thing. It's a human thing,
Right.
and
But brings you spiritual life.
it brings you everything. It's and look, imagine if you had a lack that you couldn't fix. Some people, we have lacks, and this is part of the suffering that we sometimes go through in life. For example, somebody grew up an orphan, right? They did not receive the care and attention in the first 2 years of their life. They will, from a psychological perspective, they will always feel a lack.
Right.
If somebody is not married their whole life, they're devoted for whatever reason, whether they devoted themselves to the Lord or in any other reason, but they didn't start a family. Every time they're going to be around people and being on
Yeah.
holidays, they will feel a lack. It's normal. It's the drive of our life that causes us not to sit,
Yeah.
but actually go and pursue those things. It's part of who we are, and so that's okay. But some things, the Lord supplies to a degree. He never supplies completely. And I think like friendships is one of those things, and it's not. You don't have to be
You have
super
to take
spiritual to have friends. If you don't have friends, you're lacking something human. Might be a season, all right, but you're lacking something regular, something
Right.
that is of the kingdom of earth.
Right.
This
I
kingdom.
I do. I think I hear people say, "I'm in a season of just being in like the secret place, not hanging out with people." Or they'll even go. I've seen people go to hangouts just to be isolated at the hangout intentionally.
What?
I know.
This is absolutely wild.
Because of the mindset of I just need Jesus, not connection or friends.
Yeah.
It's not healthy, like you're saying.
Maybe it's something we believe that we need to
Well,
see
I think
what kind
it's
of fruit
something
is it.
like I can only get more of Jesus if I.
That's it. That's it.
But wouldn't that be a lie?
I can only get more of Jesus if I pursue him in the way that I've heard that he needs to be pursued, reading the Bible, praying.
But he could lead you to
fasting.
do that.
Well, he would. If it's something that's lacking in your life, it's going to make all the difference.
Yeah. I just don't think that if if he did call you that, you just don't go to the hangout to be alone
Yeah.
and read.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've done that probably. Just like,
Not
nobody
engaged.
wants to be reading the Bible right now. They're just hanging out, and
Yeah.
then you just go and sit on the couch and read the Bible.
Well, I think I actually respect that.
Yeah.
When somebody's reading the Bible and they're just like, "Hey, I'm not going to be on my phone." Like
That's better. It's
that's already
true.
better. And you have an open disposition about yourself where you're reading the Bible, but you're like open for people coming to sit and having a chat about what's happening. But having particular lacks, like there's I think to go deeper with God, you have to ask him the question, Jesus, what do I not see? Tell me something I don't know.
Yeah.
Because if I don't know it, if it's missing in your life and it was always missing, you will never know that you don't have it. Example in my life. I was going for a run, and I had all of these amazing thoughts that I forget the thoughts. I remember the byproduct of it with God, and I'm like, oh, I should share this with my wife. Oh, I should share this. Like share. And I'm like, and I clearly heard, why do you feel the need to share everything that we have between us? And I'm like, I don't know. I just did. That's who I was. And the Lord led me to having more of my internal world. or internal dialogue with him. Like
Yeah,
that's
it's cool.
Oh, that's what intimacy is. You don't
And you
share
just keep it.
everything. You don't need to.
Yeah.
But I did it out of whatever insecurity and other things. And I'm like, I actually had no idea I didn't have much of that. And
Wow.
when I look, it had to do with the way I grew up. A huge family. Everything belongs to everybody. Like this communal living with some distinguishing between who owns what and
You're in this room. You're in this room.
yeah. No, we're all in the same
Our
room.
group of the 8 siblings.
Yeah,
too,
so and so there's a lot of factors. I had no idea I was missing that in my life, and that affected
Yeah.
everything I did. It affected my friendships, I didn't know I was missing. It's kind of like an example. I remember we were in the radiology class studying to read X-rays, and the teacher props up a film of a hand. And they're like, "What's wrong? What's going on in here?" And the whole class is looking at it, and they're like, "Okay, there's no fractures. Maybe there's a fracture. No, that's not a fracture. Okay, maybe there's
Yeah.
the whole one finger was missing. The whole finger was gone. We were not looking for it.
Yeah. That's so funny.
Therefore, we didn't see it."
But I mean, if you saw it in real life, then it would just be like, okay, you're looking for the.
No, but what I'm saying is, when you're looking at something in life,
Yeah.
and if you're not looking for it, and you never knew that it should be there,
Yeah.
you will never see it. And so I would ask the Lord, how do I go deeper with you? I would say, and I have done that, and what are some things that I don't know I need?
Yeah.
What are some things that I don't know that I don't know? Because there's absolutely no context for you to actually desire and want it or pursue it.
Wow. Yeah, it's like when you tell somebody to close their eyes, and then when they open their eyes, find some blue in the room, but they didn't even see the blue before.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Focus.
if the Lord tells you to focus on a certain thing, you're gonna see something completely new, and you're gonna go deeper.
Yeah.
Um,
I love it.
It's so good. But I just want to go deeper with him. Like, I want to have more experiences because I feel like it's going to impact every area of my life. Like, I want to be in the place of prayer and have those
And just be
encounters with
ascended to heaven
Yeah.
and just end
And
up
it's
in
not
the
that
throne
that's-
room.
That's all I want. I also want.
But do you practice your imagination?
Yeah.
Do you ever imagine God?
Oh yeah.
Do you ever imagine Him in different places with you?
Uh huh.
Okay, good. We're going somewhere.
Yeah, we are.
All right. Do you so
And that's very good.
I-
Every
I-
time.
I think it's our imagination.
Yeah.
Like if the Lord is
And
here,
then the Lord adds to it supernaturally.
exactly. And so I think
Oh, yeah.
I think if the Lord is here, if Jesus is here right now, close my eyes and imagine Him being here would be totally in line with the reality, with the heavenly reality.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm seated in the heavenly places. All right.
It's just faith, bro.
I'm seated there. Oh, it's so good. and so I can be teleported there, where my spirit is somehow connected to the heavenly
Through
places.
faith.
And I think there's something about that. I think our imagination is completely like shot. It's trampled down, shot and shut down. There's a little bit of English mixtures there, and so and that's why we're not able to perceive Him more.
I agree. Yeah. Imagination.
So how do you heal your imagination? Have you had like people who have seen porn or other things or
right.
traumatic events they see, and they see scary images or whatever else, right?
Yeah, right.
Like, how do you heal your imagination?
Because it can't just be time. But my original thought just now was it takes time to heal it, right?
Okay.
How much time do you have, by the way?
Well, speaking of time, I think I have a little bit more, but I'm looking at.
Yeah, we'll have a few more minutes here.
I
Well,
think,
I would say, I think based on my experience, it has taken time from my imagination. I think just time in prayer, time subtracting other things, distractions, and your imagination just becomes, with whatever you consume, will like
Yeah.
affect your imagination. So
100%.
if you're just eating the word, consuming the word, then any given day, right? Whatever you consume, then your imagination is affected.
Yeah.
Like if you just consume a book of the Bible, it's going to be so easy for you to imagine things of the Lord. Like if you're meditating, if your thoughts are meditating on the things of the Lord, then it's easy.
But for that to happen, you need to have moments when you're not thinking about anything, when you're not watching anything, when you're not you need to have blank spaces. Like people
Which
read,
is only from
read
intentionality.
they read
Yeah.
the Bible, which is absolutely crucial, and then they're done with the Bible, and you open up your phone and you're doing other things, and you're doing other
Right.
things, and you know
You lose the benefit,
You
basically.
you're not able to process.
Yeah.
You're not able to process anything, and you're not able to actually practice anything, and
Even from a scientific standpoint.
yeah, absolutely. It's just a human thing. And I think, I mean, I'm guilty of it all the time, even though I know it. Like, my mind wants to, listen to this
going
new podcast about
This one, about going deeper with God. And
well, no, the ones I'm listening to is by
yeah.
this biologist who discovered new things in a whole new
That makes sense, huh?
systems in biology, and he talks about AI and collective intelligence, and he's like, how would collective intelligence look? Anyways, so that's but I fill those blank moments in my life, and that's why I'm not able to actually perceive God more, actually have better experiences with him.
Yeah.
And but one way I think we heal our imagination is the example comes to mind, and I apply it. Is my little 5-year-old. Well, she's now 6, but she was 5 at the time.
Yeah.
She's like, I see scary monsters when I close my eyes, and I'm like, all right. And I tried everything. I'm like, all right, ask Jesus to come. Just imagine Jesus, and like, do you see Jesus? Yeah, I see Jesus. Okay, all right. And then leave the room. I come back. Still scary monster. I'm like, okay, now close your eyes. Now, do you see those scary monsters? Yes, I see them. All right, now invite Jesus to come into that picture with the scary monsters. And then, she's like, Jesus, come into it. And then after, I'm like, what do you see now? I see Jesus. Do you see the scary monsters? What happened to them? And I kind of like lead, and then she like completely transformed and she went to sleep.
That's cool.
And I'm like bringing God into whatever we're seeing in our imagination. I think will actually heal it.
No matter what it is.
No matter what it is, we don't
could be,
we don't try to change the picture from good to bad. We see something, we are experiencing something, and we bring in God into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, at least
That's
in
powerful.
imagination. Yeah.
Wow. So it could be something that's completely broken, but you ask Jesus to come, like if you picture that memory,
I don't say intentionally go and dig up.
Yeah.
What I'm saying,
but if it comes up and if
it's coming up, if
it's coming up and it's just emotionally hurting you, you just take time. You're all right. Okay, I'm there, and I feel it. It doesn't feel good, and you invite Jesus there.
Yeah, you see him. You see him there. You see him there with you, and then you start conversing with him in the midst of the brokenness.
Had that. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Experience.
So there we are.
Yeah.
Like
any traumatic memory.
Is it something you want to share?
No, but it was just from childhood, just like kind of traumatic memory. And I went there, I felt the emotions, and I asked Jesus to show me where he was in that moment.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful. It was, completely redemptive,
Yeah.
And it allows you just to like heal.
Mm-hmm.
I like the statement, time doesn't heal anything.
Yeah.
In reality, because your subconscious still holds on to it, but only going and processing it properly, only properly processing emotion allows you to actually move on and heal from it. I think even scientifically, properly processing out emotions that you feel will allow you just to release them.
Oh, absolutely. I think we just don't process.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
We have no process to process.
Yeah.
And then Vic was talking about processing emotions. He talked about the emotional wheel. Yeah. Have you done that?
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Okay, so
it's super helpful.
Yeah.
All this being said, I think it all has to do with going deeper with God.
100%.
Because healing your imagination I think that's huge. That's impactful for me. Even right
Yeah.
now, I'm like, whoa. Because anytime I've just gone into my imagination with the Lord, it's been so deep. It's felt so close, so intimate. And I've just received a lot more from the Lord. And even having just those intimate conversations with him, with including your imagination. Like you're having I'm having a conversation with you. I have a conversation with God, just like that, like two-way. Like you talk like, wow, God, what's happening? Like, how are you today? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's just like random example, right?
100%.
And then you're like it's actually using your imagination to hear what he would say.
What he would say, because you know enough about him to know what he would say.
But it's crazy how deep it gets.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, that's definitely not from me.
Exactly.
I would never have thought of that.
Exactly. But even,
and you'll know God more in that point, which is so cool.
Even if, because I'm also a questioner. Like I like to question things.
Ask questions.
And not just ask questions, but question it, doubt it. How would I say?
You're like Thomas, huh?
we wouldn't have a lot of John chapter 15 and 16 if Thomas wasn't there. Because Thomas was the guy saying, but where are you going, Jesus? It's like, don't you know where I'm going? If you would have known me, you would have known. Anyways, and so I think questioning is part of it. And questioning leads me to a different aspect of how to go deeper with God. And that is dealing with tough questions of your faith, life, or whatever.
Yeah.
We talk about the beautiful thing about Christianity, about following Jesus.
Yeah.
Which is redemption, sonship,
new identity,
purpose, purpose, incredible stuff. But we ignore and we don't give any room to consider the questions because we are afraid of them. They are challenging our view of the world and our faith. And I think I remember.
It's easier not to ask tough questions. For sure.
Yeah. And one of the tough, and I realized that's not just about Christianity. It's about every worldview, every religion, every pursuit has beautiful things that attract people to atheism, and has really tough questions that we like to ask them. Mm-hmm. But we don't ask ourselves the tough questions of what is difficult. And
for us, like for our life.
Yeah, for our lives. I'm forgetting one. Okay, I'm remembering now one particular question that I had. I remember when there was this argument about sovereignty of God and Calvinism and Arminianism and which one is it? And I was 19 at the time. I was like, if this is true, if God is like that, I wouldn't really. This would be devastating.
Yeah.
But I was like, but I'm willing to go there, and I'm willing to, even if that's who He is, and I don't understand it, like it, or it feels completely off. I'm willing, and so I did.
Yeah.
I mean, glory to God! I discovered that He's not a Calvinist, and so for me that was like
God's not a Calvinist.
God's not a Democrat or Republican. It's a song. It's a song. I'm just quoting a song.
No, I wasn't.
It's like actually a song.
I wasn't offended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if any tough questions come up to you, like some of the tough questions that you had to wrestle with, deal with, try to answer. Okay.
Honestly, it was pretty easy for me. I grew up Christian though.
So you don't question anything. You have no doubts in anything. You don't think that something doesn't match reality. And why is this so? Why are we talking about it, but we're not seeing this ever? One of the difficult things that for me is like.
Well, I'll think.
You think is. I remember, like pursuing healing big time.
Yeah.
Like praying for healing.
Yeah.
And then. And I knew all of the things. I'm like, hey, we pursue it. We will see more than we pursue. That is a manifestation of our faith, the whole thing. But then this thought really like almost crushed me. And it's like, if I look at people who pursue this full time already years and years, and I thought of Dan Mohler, I thought of not Toby Mac, but Todd White. Thank you, Todd White. I thought of all those people, and I'm like, they're pursuing it so much, and their results are better than mine. That's for sure, and undoubtedly. But still a little bit meager, still small, still the big
Yeah.
things are, and that complete. I'm like, what hope do I have?
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
to actually, and so that kind of like
Yeah.
completely, and so that was
Yeah.
that was that thought that I had to explore. But one particular difficult things that I had to like tackle is like the nature of like the existence of hell, and the nature of hell, and what does that mean about God?
Right.
Because for me, that there are certain topics we hear that make us uncomfortable, that
Yeah.
make us feel, whether it's a Buddhist talking and all of a sudden we feel like, oh, I feel like uncomfortable, or a Christian saying something and we feel uncomfortable, and it is those things. Those are the difficult things we haven't dealt with, I feel.
Those are the good
Yeah,
ones.
we haven't dealt with it, and
Yeah.
this is why it is hard for us. And I think that prevents us unknowingly from going deeper with God.
Right.
Because if God is truly making active, conscious torture forever for people,
Right.
what does that say about Him? And so
Right.
I just it's kind of like my apprehension sometimes. Now, I'm not saying to go and research everything to the fullest. I don't think more information is going to solve this necessarily.
Yeah.
Just a degree of it, and so
Right. But that has to do with going deeper with God too.
it's going deeper with God. It's asking the tough questions, asking the
Yeah.
stuff that doesn't match what you're seeing in yourself or
and
people.
I think the way he answers it is he'll take you on a journey.
That's
He'll
right,
take you on a journey of understanding.
100%. And I'm gonna share one of these journeys he
Sure.
shared with me, and
Yeah.
I think we'll finish with that.
I think so.
And this journey goes like this. There's a moment I got everything in life was absolutely on the pinnacle of perfect.
For you, yes?
Yeah, I was getting married. I bought a building that I have my practice out of in Vancouver.
Yeah.
I what else was going great? I mean, that's like that's pretty
house,
good.
yeah.
No, not house, but the building
Yeah.
for the office, and I wasn't looking for that. It was just a gift
Yeah.
from God. Really, it was just a gift from God. So everything is absolutely in perfect condition. But
Wow.
then I start having these doubts concerning God, His existence, His involvement in my life and the world. And every time I prayed, it felt like, oh, and I was spending time with the Lord regularly.
Yeah.
I was not slacking on that. And so it felt like a cloud is over me. And I just don't believe that He is there, that anything is there. And I'm like, I've experienced healings. I've experienced God using me in some, more miraculous ways, with partial paralysis getting healed after
Yeah.
a stroke,
Oh, yeah,
stuff
me
like
too.
that. Yeah.
I saw that too.
Yeah. Isn't that awesome?
It was amazing actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful one to see.
But the thing is, from my story is, after I left, they told me that, hey, this lady can walk perfectly now, and I was.
Oh, so you didn't know what happened?
I didn't know what happened,
Yeah.
and I was making. We had the service, and I was making her leading her in circles, like around the.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like, "Rick,
You didn't see the breakthrough?
Yeah, but I was
That was
like,
tough. That's a
I
tough
did like
one.
10 circles
Yeah.
with her, and people are watching, like, what is that?
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe that's what faith means, and so, but
Mine was
she-
an old lady in Bangladesh so one thing she couldn't do was like pick up a glass of water to drink for herself because her hand wouldn't work. And after, she was just picking up heavy stuff, and
Wow,
all the
that's
people in the
wild.
village, it was like a village in the middle of nowhere in Bangladesh, and all the people in the village were like, "Oh, she couldn't do that before." It was so cool.
So
Yeah,
wild.
That was awesome.
That-
Anyway, sorry.
No,
your
that's
story.
totally awesome segue.
Everything was going great in your
Yeah,
life.
everything was going great. I've seen stuff, but then this cloud is over me, and I don't know what the heck brought it on. Why is it here?
Yeah.
Why am I thinking like this? And in my mind, previously I dealt with doubt in various ways, because I'm more of an emotional person, but I was thrown into this academic intellectual sphere of my schooling, and there's a lot of guys there who are atheists, whatever.
Right.
And I had to learn the intellectual aspect, and so I dealt with doubt here and there, and then I would pray to God. God, if I ever lose faith in you, kill me. I don't want to live. I don't care. So kill me before it happens. And no, I thought that it would have kill me. And so I was back at praying that prayer. I was like, Lord, if I have
That's
like
such a funny prayer.
whatever,
I have to use that one.
Yeah, I don't suggest it. This is what I did. I don't know if it's right. I just did it right. But I didn't.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Good prayer for no. That's how you go deeper. No, it's kidding.
And I was like, it was a scary thing to pray initially, but I'm like, hey, nobody can take me out of this. If I fall into that hole of the path of doubt, nobody's gonna get me onto the avenue of faith. Like it's just not gonna happen.
You're
nobody,
one way or the other.
Nobody could convince me otherwise. If I'm gonna go into that rabbit hole, I'm gonna be forever stuck. In hell. in that kind of sense, right? And so, and I wasn't afraid of hell or anything like that. I just I didn't want to lose God. I didn't want to lose him. So I prayed, and in that time, I remember what took me out of that, out of it, right?
Yeah.
And it is, I'm trying to connect it to going deeper with God in the particular, answering the tough questions. So for me, I realized one of the things that led me there. Only after I got, I'm about to get out of that thing, I realized why I fell into it. It is the pressure of salvation of other people upon my shoulders. Like
that'll
feeling
get you.
the weight of, hey, just because you're afraid to reach out to this person who's across the gas station with you, their soul isn't your responsibility. Nobody ever said it that way, but that's the way the connection of my mind has put it that way, right? And so I think that's what happened. And I remember the one thing that got me out is not even getting So then I stopped. I stopped outreaching to people or doing anything like that because I'm like, I'm doubting whatever. And I said to myself, I know God is just. And it's really hard to outreach to people. And I'm a really bad messenger. I don't bring the message well. But when they're going to be before God, God's going to be just. And he's going to judge them according to what they know or heard. Right. And here I am setting them up for failure because I'm going to present it, but I'm not going to, show the power of God, and then God will have something to ask for them. So I'm gonna help God and help this person by not evangelizing because
that's a crazy
connection.
Process.
So then I remember in this fog walking in, I'm buying paint at Shirley Williams. We're remodeling the office and stuff like that.
Good.
I'm buying the paint, and I look at the guy across the counter, and I'm like, I really don't care about him. And this thought led me to this understanding that when I had faith, I was able to love. I was able to care about people who couldn't benefit me in any way. Ooh. I was able to care about it.
Ooh.
And I'm not without faith. And so that turned me back. And like that really turned my mind back into that avenue of faith, understanding that there's something that this relationship with God and believing and trusting him brings to me that allows me to do this thing called love that I'm not able. I don't have it in me. Yeah. It's not there. Yeah. Only faith can bring it to me. And so that brought me back into the avenue of faith. And but it's facing those tough questions and not waiting for them to make a faith crisis, like for me.
Yeah. And it's like faith in his love for you, right? Yeah. Like faith in what he did for you.
No, in that particular time, it was I could believe that when I'm not able to love somebody, but when I believe in him, and his life, I knew he existed, all of that, and I've seen him. When I take the avenue of faith, the faith as a foundation for my life, and I'm not going to question that. I'm just not going to question that part.
Right.
I am able to do something I cannot without it, which is love.
Wow.
I'm able to care about a person I don't know, I don't really care about, that cannot benefit me in any other way. And so I'm like,
right.
that's pretty cool. Maybe somebody can love somebody.
Wow.
They don't care without God. Awesome. Good for you. I cannot. And I know that brings, but there's so much more that he brings. And so I realized there are things in my life like that I'm gonna trust, and on it I'm gonna build something that then later will prove, everything that needs to be proven. But the moment I'm trying to just grow a result or a fruit to prove the foundation I'm standing on, it's already a faulty, not a strong enough foundation, and it will fail once the result is not there. Yeah. If my life is not going better, my business is not thriving, if I'm not standing on the love of God, I'll feel like my faith is shattering.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just bringing it back to
the
foundation.
But
then it's whether your business or everything's thriving or everything's kind of like on the down
precipice
in that
of
moment,
falling apart.
But the foundation's the same either way. If it's the same, then it's okay.
Yeah,
either way,
but you see, I would do it like this. There's a result that faith should bring. If it's not bringing it, we look, is the foundation still secure?
Yeah. Or is there a
crack? Am I expecting
wrong in the foundation?
Like,
right?
because in my foundation, I also had expectation of things, and those expectations were that if I believe in God, my family's going to be great, right? Everything's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And then when it wasn't, I was like, why is my so?
Yeah. Right.
This is because I'm kind of contradicting myself right now. I'm recognizing that, but the reason
it's just another facet.
Yeah, it's a facet, but the tree of faith will produce amazing fruits.
Right.
Like healing, ability to see healing.
Right.
Now, when I take and I see those fruits, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's so cool. I take those fruits and I put them under my feet, and I'm like, I'm gonna stand on the fact that I'm gonna see healing. And then I don't see healing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I feel like I'm falling, like the Leaning Tower of Pisa.
That foundation you already had is
just because it's not a pure foundation. I think when we don't see results, it can take the impurities out of what we're standing on.
Right. Wow.
Possibly right. I don't take my word for it. Talk to God about this.
But the point is, you have to have your foundation on the identity that's found in the Lord.
Yeah.
That's the
and love of God.
Simple.
It's really love of God. Yeah. But I mean, we can't go away from it.
Well,
yeah.
Do you want to pray for everyone?
For everyone
that's listening?
I don't want to pray for everyone.
Just
want to pray for myself.
All right, let's pray for ourselves.
Just kidding.
Yeah, I don't love it. Everybody.
I think when we are with God, we could ask them like, to heal our imaginations, yeah, and then see those tough questions, like Lord, what are the tough questions that I'm ignoring, and what is the journey you want to lead me on, Lord? What is the journey you want to lead me on?
I can think of some.
I did. Yeah. And then who am I, and what does that look like? What is the uniqueness of who I am, who I was made to be?
Yeah.
And from realizing, but you see, before you can realize who you are, you gotta shed the false identities. You can't go without shedding the false identities. So what is the lies I believe of who I am?
Yeah.
I think we know the language of I believe that I'm a son. I believe that I'm loved.
Yeah.
Okay, but when did I not feel like I'm loved this week? Right.
Yeah.
When I feel like I'm not seen, or I'm alone.
Yeah.
What am I believing in those moments, and why could I not experience what I say I believe? Yeah.
That's good.
That's it. Amen.
Amen. Amen. All right. That's good.